This is ABC7 News at 7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you.
None of us are exempt from baggage.
I can't believe that any Christian would support that. They must somehow believe it's not true.
Multiple marriages, harassment allegations, and some stormy weather. Why is the president getting a pass from many Christians? Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Cohen, and welcome to ABC 7 at 7. We'll have more on Christian support for President Trump in a moment, but first, our top 7 stories at 7. Who's been setting dozens of fires in Charlotte County and now in Northport, which appear to have been set intentionally? There have been 54 fires in the past few weeks, and fire officials say 48 are suspicious. That's the largest number of fires in recent memory. Florida Forestry, Northport Police, and Sarasota County Sheriff's Office are trying to figure out what is going on.
The last couple years, there's either been 1 or 2 or 0, and so this is an extremely high number and very concerning.
Anyone with information is asked to contact the Florida Forestry Service, where there is a reward of up to $5,000 for any information leading to an arrest. Medical marijuana dispensaries are now legal in the city of Sarasota after a unanimous vote by city commissioners just 7 months after they said no. The temporary ban was after Governor Rick Scott signed a bill saying local governments had to either allow the same zoning laws for dispensaries as traditional pharmacies or ban them. So the city created a plan that would be accepted citywide. Former Vice President Joe Biden is weighing in on our little House 72 special election. Biden is endorsing Democrat candidate Margaret Good. The special election is on Tuesday between Good, Republican James Buchanan, and Libertarian Allison Foxhall. The 3 candidates debated right here on ABC 7 at 7 last week. Did you miss it? Don't worry, we are re-airing the debate Monday night at ABC 7 at 7. We'll have up-to-date election results on election night. A crash leads to a police chase in Nokomis. Police say James Stansberry crashed a car around 7:30 this morning at Laurel Road and Albee Farms. Stansberry then fled into a nearby island of mangroves. The Sarasota County Sheriff's Office Air 1 helicopter, Venice Police, and the Florida Highway Patrol all responded. Boats were called in, and eventually police were able to get Stansberry off the small island. He is now in custody. A follow-up now on a shooting in Palmetto where a man was killed. It happened on 33rd Street East in northern Manatee County. When deputies arrived, they found 2 people had been shot. Alvin Ducray was killed while Smith was taken to a nearby hospital. Detectives want to hear from witnesses, and if you have any information, you are asked to call Manatee County Crime Stoppers at 866-634-TIPS. Legislation is moving forward in Tallahassee, which would remove the birthdays of Robert E. Lee and Jefferson Davis and Confederate Memorial Day as legal holidays in Florida. By a 4-2 vote, a Senate committee voted to strike the 3 dates from the list of observed state holidays, which include Martin Luther King Day and Abraham Lincoln's birthday.
It's important to condemn racism and hate and reaffirm that we are indeed one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, not just for some.
When you erase the minority and the southern white people are in the minority, and you take away our monuments and our heroes, that is cultural genocide, plain and simple.
Today's hearing was the first of 3 committee stops for the measure before it can be heard by the full Senate. A proposal to give college students the right to exercise free speech wherever they want to on campus is also moving forward. The Campus Free Expression Act was passed by the Senate Education Committee. In part, it would prevent colleges and universities from designating campus-free speech zones or taking other steps restricting speech to particular areas of the campus.
We've got to learn how to have civil discussion and debate about ideas on our campuses. We can't simply just tell people to be quiet. And at the same time, we got to keep order.
We're passing legislation that can be interpreted in certain ways, and it's unnecessary. You know, if we have a problem, and we got lots of problems here in the state of Florida, let's address the problem. Let's not address what we think will be a problem.
The legislation has one more committee stop before it could be debated by the full Senate. Now let's head over to ABC7's chief meteorologist Bob Harrigan with the first alert forecast. Bob.
Spring is in the air. You can feel it today, right? Temperatures in the upper 70s to low 80s. Baseball right around the corner, right here along the Suncoast. KCK webcam showing calm conditions for the most part out on the water. Seas running 2 feet or less. Few boaters out there. Moving back and forth across the Gulf, and these clouds have been coming in from the Gulf as well, and we had some high clouds around for sunset. 71 degrees right now. It's comfortable. Winds out of the north-northwest at 3. We had a little sea breeze kick in near the coast. Kept temperatures just a little bit cooler there, but inland areas, I mentioned Lakewood Ranch, 80, 82 degrees today. You can see some of those high clouds streaming in from the Gulf. There's some fog still hanging around out here in the just off the coast of west central Florida, but that fog is heading off to the west around an area of high pressure located to the east of the state. We're getting that easterly flow at the surface. We will see the potential for some patchy fog tomorrow. Storms that are developing over the lower Mississippi Valley right now should not be a big factor for us. It will bring us some cloudiness, especially on Thursday as the front sags southward over central portion of the state. 70 right now in Orlando, a bit cooler in places like Jacksonville and Tallahassee. 10 degrees warmer though in Miami and in Key West, 75 degrees there. And as far as your evening planner goes, not a problem. If you have any plans outdoors, it will be very nice. 65 degrees by 11 o'clock under fair skies and no problems for tomorrow, except maybe a little bit of patchy fog. But that would be about it. Beautiful day, but there were just clouds in the wrong place to kind of try to see the SpaceX launch today, which right. It's never really going to be as good as the space shuttle once was from here along the West Coast, but you can get a shot of it at times. So because the space shuttle had a little bit more energy, a little bit more power with it, a little bit more exhaust as well, as opposed to that one. But it looks like we're going to have some shots of the red roadster just kind of moving around the earth right now. That's a good tease, Bob. Yeah. You have to wait till the end of the show for that. Still to come, how come President Trump gets a free pass from many Christians, even despite sexual harassment allegations, failed marriages, and lots of foul language.
I'm Anne. I'm a scientist.
Recycling takes a team.
Why don't you let me and me help you out?
Everyone plays a part. Don't trash
I love taking stuff apart and building new things out of it.
what could be treasure.
Pal's my most advanced android. This is awesome. You haven't seen anything yet.
Give your cardboard box another life. Recycle.
WWSB ABC7 is an equal opportunity employer, and we're looking for qualified people to join our dynamic team. For a list of current openings and to apply online, visit www.mysuncoast.com/contact/employment. If you're a motivated team player and you want a rewarding career in a fun, fast-paced working environment, WWSB ABC7 could be the perfect fit for you. Check out our list of openings now.
It's time to take a road trip.
Alabama's got 100 road trips, and some of the best are music to your ears, like the Alabama Music Hall of Fame. Or head over to Muscle Shoals and Fame Studios. Are you a star yet?
My mama thinks so.
Or, if that's your stomach I hear grumbling, our barbecue is almost a religious experience. Food good here? Best in the country. Alabama's got 100 road trips.
Which one you gonna take?
Here we go. We're gonna go out there in the rain. Gonna get wet. All right, here we go. Go, okay, quick. Oh yeah, yes. So much fun. Mwah. We're getting so wet.
The thought of my sons growing up without me inspired me to quit smoking.
I talked to my doctors, and then I threw away all my cigarettes, ashtrays, and lighters.
I started exercising instead of smoking.
Letting my friends online know I was quitting kept me on track.
Staying away from alcohol when I was first quitting was key.
I kept on trying, learned something each time.
Do whatever it takes.
No matter how many times it takes.
We did it. You can too.
For free help, visit cdc.gov/tips.
Watch Good Morning Suncoast on ABC7, weekdays starting at 5.
Tonight, Christian support for President Trump. You might recall Tony Perkins, a leader in the evangelical community, recently gave the president a mulligan after reports surfaced about an affair he had with a porn star. As Adam Cellini reports, some Christian leaders say there is a bigger picture to take into consideration other than looking at today's headlines or tweets.
Whether it's greed,
you know, I get greedy, I want money. Now,
wrath,
get him out of here,
or most recently, lust, it seems no deadly sin can kill the Christian support for Donald Trump.
He's still my man. I'm still praying for him, and I'm satisfied.
Like many Christians, 30-year pastor Paul McLaughlin originally supported Ted Cruz, but he's been pleasantly surprised by President Trump.
Donald Trump represents some values that I hold dear to me.
Talking tough on abortion, recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital, and an executive order to promote religious liberty are all positives in his book. The negatives in the past, and all is forgivable in the eyes of God, right?
Regarding his personal life in the past and the accusations, you know, it's sad, but none of us are exempt from baggage.
The white evangelical support for Donald Trump eclipsed all Republican predecessors with 81% of the group's vote back in 2016. A surprising number, but not a surprising trend, according to religion and philosophy professor Hyun Kim.
Well, no, actually, evangelicals have always been involved with politics, especially conservative politics. This dates back to 18th century.
But what is surprising is an apparent shift in the group's values. A poll by Public Religion Research Institute asked evangelicals if an immoral person could behave ethically in a public role. In 2011, only 30% answered yes. In 2016, 70%.
That flipped. Now it's only 30% of them say that personal morality has the effect on political leadership.
Self-proclaimed Bible-belting Christian Rod Thompson says it should never have an effect.
I don't think anybody of faith should look at him as their pastor or priest or a rabbi or imam or anything. I'm perfectly willing to say that his personality can be abrasive and off-putting and unhelpful at times. And his language is not language that I appreciate. But his policies and his appointments I appreciate very much.
Thompson believes presidents should be measured only by their ability to move the country forward. And yes, that does include Bill Clinton.
He was not the worst president. When he worked with the Republican Congress, he found a lot of areas to work well with them, within the budget, with welfare reform.
Still, there are Christians who are holding their president to the highest standard of morality. Reverend Roger Fritz can't overlook the multiple marriages and alleged adultery with an adult film star.
He's been married 3 times. He's been unfaithful. It's shocking. That alone makes him unqualified under the teachings of the Old and New Testament to be President of the United States.
Make no mistake, Fritz also takes exception to some of Trump's policies, especially those regarding young immigrants he believes should have sanctuary under DACA.
And that's the Christian thing to do. That's the following the Matthew's commandment, do unto others as we would like to be done unto ourselves.
Much like the Word of God, Trump's behavior in the White House is up for interpretation. And while only God can judge his soul, voters will once again be able to judge the man coming up in just 3 years. In Sarasota, Adam Cellini, ABC7, your Suncoast News.
Coming up, an incredible debate at the Trapezoid. One of the best political analysts around, one of the best thought leaders in the conservative movement on the Suncoast, and the executive director of the Florida Council of Churches. Stay with us.
You now have the power to prioritize your Facebook feed and get local news and information from the team you trust. Go to the ABC7 Sarasota page on Facebook. Give us a like, then click following and choose See First. That's it. Customize even more by choosing notifications. Choose breaking news, posts, live videos, anything you want to see in real time. Take control of your newsfeed and stay connected to what's happening in your community with ABC7 on Facebook.
You got a king?
Go fish! In your face, in your face,
It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
A decade of war has taken an unprecedented toll on our men and women in uniform.
Hundreds of thousands of our veterans are suffering from the trauma of war.
At Justice for Vets, we believe that every veteran should have the opportunity for treatment and restoration.
Get involved and go to justiceforvets.org.
Help put treatment within reach of veterans in crisis.
Veterans fought for our freedom. Now it's our turn to fight for theirs.
There was this big bruise on my friend's face. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to think her own nephew could have hit her.
I didn't want to see it. My mother's bank account was emptied, and a caregiver had taken control of it.
I didn't want to see it. My father's refrigerator. There was hardly anything in it. That's unusual for him.
It's tough to see that a senior citizen is being abused, physically, emotionally, sexually, or financially. Elder abuse is a crime.
So see the signs. Stop the crimes.
Welcome back. Christian support of Trump. I know a lot of you check that. Maybe some of you might be saying right now, why are you taking this on? Well, a guy who I like, who happens to be a frequent guest on this show, recently wrote a column by the title, Why a Bible-Believing Christian Supports Trump. And we're talking about Rod Thompson, of course, who describes his ongoing arguments with other Christians who disagree with him, who look at the number of times the president has been married, the allegations of harassment, his sometimes vulgar language, and his comments about women as the reason they don't support Trump. But Rod writes, quote, I understand the discomfort with his verbiage and the way he comports himself. Same here. It can really be distasteful to me, but how could that possibly be more important than what he is actually doing for the country? And joining us for more is Rod Thompson of the RevolutionaryAct.com, Reverend Russell Meyer, the Executive Director of the Florida Council of Churches, and another guy who I like and call a friend, and Frank Alcock, who is one of my best friends, a political science professor at New College. Hey, Rod, let me see if I got this correct. You told Adam it's not about what the president does in his personal life. It's about his ability to move the country forward. But a lot of people argue what the president's policies that he is pushing along would actually move the country back, not forward.
Right. Well, I disagree if we're looking at forward as equating to what's best for Americans, because I think that we've mistaken the place and the role of the president in the country. He's the chief executive. He's meant to faithfully execute the laws of the land, which some have done better than others. Commander-in-chief appoints judges. You know, there's a handful of things that he's supposed to be doing. He is not supposed to be a moral leader, a spiritual leader, a father figure. He's not supposed to be a national emoter in times of catastrophe. I see no reason why we should have a president going after a hurricane and handing out water so he can show how he cares. I think that we put the president in the wrong role when we look at him that way. And so if we are looking at him for appropriate moral leadership, we are looking to the wrong places. We should be looking to pastors, reverends, priests, rabbis, imams, whatever your faith is. That's where you look for those things.
There's a pretty good pastor sitting right next to you right now, Reverend Meyer. Your objection to President Trump, is it based, what percentage of it is based in terms of his moral failings, his marriages, the charges of sexual harassment, his vulgarity, or his policies?
It's wrapped up into a bundle. I don't know how you separate them out. And so there are policies that are harming people right now today. Those policies are perhaps not so much different as the way he conducted his businesses and left many of his vendors without full payment, saying, sue me if you don't like the way I'm settling with this. So there's a nature in him of the way he interacts with others that he perceives as his adversary. As the President of the United States, he's the president of all of us. None of us are his adversaries. And so when he calls out certain parts of the country as treasonous or as enemies of the state, he's dividing Americans against Americans. And that can be traced to a whole lot of other behaviors in his past.
Frank, the evangelical community has always had, or at least in the last several decades, a really important role in electing a president. It seemed to have waned a little bit in the late 1990s and early 2000s, but is there any way to underestimate how important the evangelical Christian community is to President Trump's base?
No, about about a quarter, 25% of Americans identify with white evangelical Christians. They are, and it works through the churches, but it's one of the most highly organized networks, one of the most politically mobilized groups in America. So they're extremely important with respect to electoral outcomes. I would, however, caution people to read too much into just the religious part. I do think that highly religious people are having a significant problem with some of the dissonance that we're talking about. But I think the evangelical label it's a proxy for a cultural group that in having somebody at the vanguard of their movement, that's what's most important to them. And so sometimes it manifests on things like the Tea Party, but it does make sense, I think, if you break it down.
We're just getting warmed up, and we'll have much more on the Christian support for Trump right after we check the First Alert weather. Stay with us.
Rugs as Art, Sarasota's only area rug superstore.
Soldiers in the Army National Guard live up to a set of time-honored principles.
I will always place the mission first.
They stand ready to respond to any crisis.
I will never accept defeat.
They serve in their communities as citizens and as soldiers.
I will never quit.
They train part-time to be ready to serve at all times.
I will never leave a fallen comrade.
Learn more at nationalguard.com.
Meet Blue. Blue's not feeling well. The prescription? Generic medication. Blue wonders, do they really work as well as name brands? Yes, generics and name brand medications do work the same. Even though they may look different, generics have the same key ingredients. FDA approval is equally rigorous for generics to make sure they're as safe and effective as name brands. And Blue even saves some green, making him a little less, well, blue. Talk to your doctor about generics and visit fda.gov/generic drugs.
It's time to take a road trip.
Burn rubber for Birmingham, where you can feed your need for speed at Barber Motorsports Park and Museum. Now this gets my motor running. Meet Iron Men. Hey there, big guy. And make a date with your 9-iron. Feed the animals at the zoo and the birds. Then enjoy the award-winning restaurant scene. Alabama has a road trip with your name on it.
Which one you gonna take?
Everybody can make something, because I think everyone has a spark of creativity, and the reason that I have to keep making is because I don't think my life would be as fulfilling without it. If you make things yourself, that means you're not cowering in fear. You're out there taking chances. That, I think, is my way of saying I love you to the world. All right, now I want to hear why you make.
Share your own Why I Make story today. Visit whyimake.org.
Our conversation on Christian support for President Trump continues right after we get a check on the First Alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. Bob.
Well, Norm Schibble, Norm, I guess, is sending in the Baltimore Orange. That's called. I recall that one, the Baltimore Orange. They're getting in town now, and they're unloading and getting ready to play some spring ball. And the temperatures were kind of like spring today, weren't they? Nice out there. We were going to promise you some photos of the SpaceX and the Starman floating through space around the Earth's orbit, but they pulled the feed on us. But you can go to my Facebook page and check it out there. I'm sure it's still going on at SpaceX. Here's what's going on with the weather headlines that read like this. Patchy fog, cold front fizzles as it heads towards us on Thursday, but it stays warm. Even though that front will be around, creating some cloudy conditions, we're still going to see warm temperatures. You can see here's the front making its way down Wednesday afternoon. Some showers, some storms over Georgia, panhandle of Florida, all the way into Mississippi. We'll see some sea fog. That'll again be a problem, I think, come Thursday morning as we move in through time. You see it kind of thickens up there. A few showers possible here and there. Here's the front at 4 a.m. sagging southward, eventually pulls up stationary right over north central Florida and then dissipates. And it leaves us, though, with some cloudy conditions right through Thursday evening and even into Friday. We're expecting a mixture of sun and clouds, a little bit more sunshine on into Saturday. Here's a satellite and radar review showing what's going on. Well, at the surface, we have high pressure located just to the east of the state. And with that high pressure there, we're getting that east to southeasterly wind flow, and that really warms us up here in Florida. On top of that, we have this, again, basically upper level wind that is moving from left to right, and that's a fast moving stream of air, and that has been responsible lately for these storms developing in the Gulf. Little pieces of energy move along that and cause the showers and some uplift to occur, and it looks like that's going to be another problem again late Sunday night into Monday for much of North Florida. But look at this, snow and ice all the way down to Arkansas, near Dallas, getting some freezing rain there. All this, so notice the general trend has been to the east and to the northeast. Not much going on here at all, and it looks like it'll stay well away from us. Current conditions, it's nice out there, 71 degrees. The dew point is at 65. Winds are light out of the north-northwest at 3. Those winds will switch to the east. That's a little sea breeze that kicked in this afternoon. The high today was 79. Lakewood Ranch, 82 degrees. And it's 59 now in Jacksonville, 70 in Orlando, 75 now into Miami. Well, you can see along the coastline, just a little bit cooler there, but what will happen is that they'll get cooler inland by tomorrow morning. The coast will stay a little bit warmer as a result of the Gulf water temperature now at 65 degrees, 74 now in Arcadia. So tomorrow, a little bit of patchy fog. Looks good for drive time in the morning. No real significant problems. If we see any fog, it should be patchy. 78 for a high tomorrow at the Sarasota-Bradenton Airport. We'll see sunshine along with a few clouds now and again. Satellite review showing bitterly cold temperatures over the northern plain states. Here's the European forecast model, by the way, showing you what's been going on as far as the forecast goes for Thursday. Some clouds around, even Friday showing some clouds around. Saturday looking a little bit better. So a mixture of sun and clouds still, though, with the rain staying well to our north and kind of heading that way. But this next one has a chance, just a slight chance of getting us on Sunday night. Southeast winds turn to the southwest at 10 knots and then 5 knots in the afternoon. A light chop in the bays and in the waters. The extended forecast looking good, doesn't it? Upper 70s to low 80s. So is this the end of winter? Yeah, it's getting close to it, as the midweek in February usually signifies the last time that we have a chance to get any kind of freeze or frost conditions, but we'll see how it plays out. 20% chance for showers Saturday through Tuesday. Better chance comes Sunday night and Monday morning. Al will be back with his guests right after this. Stick around.
Hi, I'm Chef Bob. Watch Aprons in the Kitchen every Wednesday morning on ABC7, where we'll be serving up the most awesome dishes. Then stop by your neighborhood Publix, pick up the recipe card and all the ingredients.
My name is Stephen Campagna. We're Ben Gates and Dramus, and here is your law tip of the week. If you've been injured in a car accident, the state of Florida only gives you a specific amount of time to file a claim. So act now, give us a call.
I heard about the Detoli Cancer Center through friends of mine who had been treated here and were very pleased with the treatment.
If there is prostate cancer, we at the Detoli Cancer Center will find it using 3D color flow Doppler ultrasound.
And that helped precisely identify where my cancer was. I can tell you that you will not find a finer, more professional team of clinicians anywhere in the world.
When my youngest, Addie, was 2.5, she was diagnosed with leukemia. When we first heard that diagnosis, you feel extremely alone. Walking in that Light the Night light with 6,000 people carrying lights, white for survivors, red for supporters, gold in memory of those who have passed. It's the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society's hope that every year there are fewer gold lanterns. Your lantern will make a difference.
Start a team, join a team.
Help us light the night.
The skills you develop as a soldier in the Army National Guard can give you a head start on your career. Gain practical experience with technology and equipment that will give you a leg up in the civilian world. Learn critical leadership skills and to be part of a team. Serve your community and your country part-time while earning money for an education. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn about the paid training and career opportunities available to you in the Army National Guard.
Welcome back. We're talking about Christian support for President Trump, and joining us for more is Rod Thompson of the RevolutionaryAct.com, Reverend Russell Meyer, the Executive Director of the Florida Council of Churches, and Frank Alcock, a political science professor at New College. Gentlemen, CNN did this a really interesting story a while back, just a week or two ago, where they went out and interviewed a number of evangelical women who talking about President Trump. Let's take a short look at what they said.
We care about jobs, we care about the economy, safety. That's what we care about. It's not relevant.
It doesn't matter, because that's what Christianity is about. It's all about forgiveness, it's all about new beginnings, it's all about starting over. So it is irrelevant to me about what he did in 2006.
Of course, that was after the reports came out about the president's affair with a porn star years ago, before he became president. But Reverend Meyer, that story and the comments that some in the evangelical community made about it really has kind of lingered in the news. As we mentioned earlier in the show, some are giving the president a mulligan for that personal failing, if it is true. Would you?
Well, this isn't golf on Saturday afternoon with cigars and beers on the greens with your buddies. This is public life. And not only is it public life, it's the most public office on the face of the planet. And so Me Too really counts here. We have shifted over the last couple of years in a really big way. We're not going back on Me Too. It would be very helpful for this president to come out and be very clean. If forgiveness is there, in the Christian tradition, repentance and amendment of life or ingredients for how forgiveness unfolds in a person's life, it would be very helpful for him to embrace the Me Too and come out and talk about amendment of life.
But you know, there are a lot of people who are watching this tonight who are probably saying to their televisions right now, when Bill Clinton was president and we went through the Monica Lewinsky affair, a lot of people on the left did not call the president out for those moral failings.
There were people who called President Clinton out. At the end of the day, President Clinton was tried in the Congress for misdemeanors and high crimes and found that he had not committed. He was acquitted of misdemeanors and high crimes. His behavior with Monica Lewinsky is reprehensible and is never defensible. And in this day and age, if that were to happen here, the outcome might be very different. We need to have strong rules that say people in authority cannot use their authority for sexual favors.
Rod, let me ask you about this, because when you see Christian defense of President Trump, despite the allegations, the marriages, the language, and so forth, you know, on the other hand, a lot of people say, you know, there were a lot of people who openly questioned whether Barack Obama was a Christian, and that is, you know, no matter what you think of his policies, the man did not speak publicly in the same way that the president does. There's certainly no question about how he treated his wife and other women, and it does raise the issue about hypocrisy.
So, well, what it raises the issue to me is it goes exactly back to my point here, and that is that Barack Obama, in my estimation, he said he's a Christian. I leave it at that. I take him at his word. He seemed to me to be a loving father, a devoted husband, a good family man, an excellent example in that respect and all. I think he wasn't a good president for the country because of his policies. I would go further in the presidential comparisons to sort of buttress my case here to say that probably the most morally Christian president we've had in modern times is Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter was a Bible teacher. I mean, evangelical. I mean, no. Basically, he believes exactly what I believe, as best I can tell. And Habitat for Humanity, he's been faithful with for decades afterwards. But it's also pretty universally accepted that he was really not a good president at all. than when I go to, but wait, let me finish my point if I might. But I go to Bill Clinton. And so I like to stick with the Democrats here because it kind of makes the case. Bill Clinton, I think, was a morally reprehensible man. I think he was a sexual predator. I think just looking at Monica Lewinsky is nowhere near enough of the picture. When you look at all the various women, I mean, this is really not a moral man. In office, before office, I don't know about afterwards, but it doesn't sound like it. However, I don't think Bill Clinton was that bad a president. I would take Bill Clinton over Jimmy Carter or Barack Obama as president, despite my assessment that he is a morally inferior man personally than either of them.
Frank, Rod is basically saying we should not look to our presidents for their moral leadership. But when I look back at the presidents in my lifetime and even before, going back to FDR at least, we did look at them as leaders, no matter a number of them, if not all, had some moral failings.
Yeah, I think moral character matters. So I disagree with Rod and who I would hold up as exemplars as the presidency, but I think Rod's argument exemplifies, I think, what you're seeing in terms of that ability to compartmentalize. And so I think largely for the evangelical Christian movement, 80%, I mean, they came out overwhelmingly for Donald Trump, and their support really hasn't been shaken revelation after revelation. And I think that's because Donald Trump says the things that they want to hear. I think it's probably more cultural than it is to some governance philosophy or even religious philosophy. But he says the things that they want to hear. He champions what they want championed. And there's just a monster mulligan. Whatever he does in his private life, it simply doesn't matter.
Reverend Meyer, and I know I asked you this kind of in a different way, but knowing you, I know that the biggest issue you take with President Trump is his policies.
It is his policies. So the fundamental question in the Bible concerning what a leader should do, the king, the prince, to use the language of biblical times, is to make certain that the widow, the orphan, and the stranger, the alien, the immigrant, have the same opportunities, are loved by the nation the way you would love your own cousin. That's the biblical standard. So when we talk about morality in the Bible, the standard of morality is a public morality. And so let's just look at DACA, for instance. The president terminated the DACA program on his own accord and then threw it to Congress and said, you guys need to fix this. Now, that was not an innocent move. Congress is dysfunctional right now because of the Hassert rule, which says in the GOP, it only applies in the GOP, that at least 50% of the party has to agree to something before it will even be voted on. There are a whole set of bipartisan policies that would be adopted tomorrow in both the House and the Senate if it weren't for the dysfunction within the leading party.
Well, let me put that to Rod. How do you jive what you read in the Bible that Reverend Meyer was talking about and your support for President Trump?
Right. So this is a principled position now, regardless of who's president. Reverend Meyer was talking about in James chapter 2, where it says, look after orphans and widows in their distress. That's exactly right. That's exactly what Christians are supposed to be doing. If you look at the Sermon on the Mount, very high bar for all of us to be doing, turning the other cheek. When you look in Matthew, and yeah,
you can't say that this president, this man, turns the
thank you. Exactly the point. But this is continuing on my point. I'm not claiming that Trump is a Christian. I'm not claiming he needs to act like a Christian. He needs to act like our chief executive, and that's what he needs to be doing. Is he needs to be a good president. But the other is aimed at us as individual Christians. Nowhere in the Bible will you find God telling or Jesus saying how we are to act as government.
Wait a second. We have to take a quick break. We'll be back in a moment.
Alex Karras Lincoln's 40th anniversary sale. Drive a brand new 2018 Lincoln MKC for $279 per month or the Lincoln MKZ for $299 per month. We have a great selection of certified pre-owned Lincolns. These vehicles have warranties up to 100,000 miles and come with complimentary roadside assistance. Alex Karras Lincoln, where our mission statement is consistent commitment. Every client, every time. Located 2 miles north of the Sarasota-Bradenton Airport on US 41.
Everyone likes the 2018 Honda Civic for $169 a month. You made Civic the best-selling compact car in America. You like Civic's 5-star safety ratings and that KBB.com named Civic a best buy and the most awarded car. Get the 2018 Civic at a payment you love. $169 a month today at your local Honda dealer.
My life motto is keep moving. And as hard as it was when my husband passed away, I knew I had to keep doing what I love. Oops, coming. But I needed help with my insurance, and that's what the NAIC provides. They have resources to help you and your family make the best decision, and they'll help you to keep moving forward, just like me.
We answered the call of duty and left our homes to serve in far-off lands. Now, we answer another call, this time at home, in our own communities, to respond in times of chaos, to use our strength, our skills, and our experiences to bring hope amid devastation and destruction. Together, as a team of brothers and sisters, we're continuing our mission to make this country a little stronger and a little better each day. We are Team Rubicon.
Check out My Suncoast Dining on mysuncoast.com, your guide to the foodie lifestyle. ABC7's own Chef Judy serves up her favorite recipes, cooking tips and trends, dining blogs, step-by-step videos, and Suncoast Restaurant Guide. You'll find it all at mysuncoast.com/dining.
And our guest joined us for final thoughts. And Reverend Meyer, there was something you wanted to say.
So the position of Scripture goes way back. It's best illustrated by the Psalms, the royal Psalms that pray over and over again, give the king your justice, O Lord. And so the notion there is that the king, as the representative of the people in the government, is supposed to be living out the values in which the widow and the orphan and the stranger in the land, that everybody has a fair opportunity of the distribution of God's abundance in this creation. That's the fundamental way to judge a government as being moral or immoral. Jesus builds upon that prophetic tradition, and it goes through him all the way. It's why he attacks the temple, because it has forgotten its way.
All right, so in what Reverend Meyer's saying and what the Unitarian pastor was saying on there, I'm a little bit surprised at how much we want to infuse running government with church and with church teachings and policies. I was thinking that we wanted to separate those two. But on the individual issues within the Scripture, he's right on the Psalms and teaching the kings, but if we go to Jesus' teachings, Jesus is all about the individual heart and where our heart is towards God, where our heart is towards fellow man. And so he asks us to feed the poor and to clothe the naked and to visit those in prison. And the reason he wants us to do that is because if there's a third party that can do it, we do not have to take responsibility individually for it.
That's the evangelical contortion of the
That's what the Scripture says if you read the Bible.
That's the evangelical contortion of the Scriptures. There are other Christian traditions that don't simply make it a matter of individualism.
Frank, has it always been this way, or is it more severe now in terms of our politics?
No, it's more severe now, if you haven't noticed. Just to sum up, I think if you're looking for religious principles in terms of a connection between evangelical support for Donald Trump or even governance philosophy, you're just going to be scratching your head. I think it comes back to cultural reasons. They've chosen this guy to lead the vanguard. He speaks their language, and they'll forgive just about anything.
All right, and we'll have to leave it there. But before we go, we want to share with you what some of you had to say about last night's show on us being just days away from another possible government shutdown. Less than a month ago, the government shut down for a couple of days. Back in 2013, there was a 16-day shutdown. Closing the government can affect you and your family and the military and more. So we went to Facebook to hear your thoughts about how a government shutdown would affect you. And Bob says, when a government shutdown impacts you, then you depend too much on the government. Time to shrink the government. Pete responds and says, if you are a military family not getting paid during a shutdown, are you too dependent on the government? And Robin says, I would like the Democrats to start acting like adults. And Kate responds, I would like the Republicans to start acting like human beings. Well, if you'd like to join the conversation on tonight's topic, just visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/mysuncoast.com.abc7. And FYI, you can watch past discussions on demand. They're available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. And for the latest on local breaking news, don't forget to download the updated version of our app. If your current app doesn't work, it's expired, just go to the App Store and re-download it by searching for WWSB or My Suncoast. We want to thank our guests for being here tonight: Rod Thompson of the RevolutionaryAct.com, Reverend Russell Meyer, the Executive Director of the Florida Council of Churches, and Frank Alcock, a political science professor at New College. When we return, we'll have ABC7 business insider Richard Stern here to talk about the crazy days at the stock market. Plus, to interview or not interview, under oath or not. Is President Trump getting closer to sitting down with Special Counsel Robert Mueller in regards to the Russia investigation? Stay with us.
Are you a food lover, restaurant goer, or home cook? Then check out My Suncoast Dining on mysuncoast.com, your guide to the foodie lifestyle. ABC7's own Chef Judy serves up her favorite recipes, cooking tips and trends, dining blogs, and helpful step-by-step videos. And you'll love the restaurant guide with direct links to your favorite Suncoast eateries. Whether you're cooking in or dining out, whet your appetite with tasty tips from Chef Judy at mysuncoast.com/dining.
It's time to take a road trip. Alabama's got 100 road trips. And if you love the sun, you're gonna love Mobile, where Mardi Gras is king, and the accommodations will make you feel like royalty. You can take a little drive, explore Dauphin Island, or explore the past. We're talking the USS Alabama. Check out these big guns. Alabama's got 100 road trips. Plan yours at alabama.travel.
Which one you gonna take?
All hands on deck. What's up? I want to point out 3 tips for using the home computer more safely. Point away.
First, stop. Make sure your software is up to date and that you've password protected your computer's login and Wi-Fi connection.
Next, think before visiting a site, opening attachments, or clicking on links.
Then connect, knowing you're helping make the web safer for you
and for everyone. Make Stop, Think, Connect part of your daily online routine.
ABC7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you. Watch ABC7 wherever you are, on our live stream, on mysuncoast.com, on the ABC7 My Suncoast app, powered by the iAssociates, providing sight for life, featuring traffic maps and live radar, dining with recipes, and My Suncoast Restaurant Guide. Visit mysuncoast.com. Click on the Apps tab to download the ABC7 My Suncoast app for Apple and Android.
Your primetime headlines are coming up in a moment, but first, it was only a matter of time. The stock market was on the rise for months, but yesterday it took a huge hit. And here to discuss is our ABC7 insider, Richard Stern. So, Richard, not much happening this week.
Just a dull day. You know, today's a good example of it. The market opened down 547 points. And in less than 30 minutes, we were up 347 points. So we had almost a 900-point swing in less than 30 minutes. So,
what happened yesterday and on Friday? Did that come out of nowhere, or were there signs that this was coming?
Well, I think a lot of people agreed that the market had gone only in one direction, and that typically doesn't happen. But what happened on Friday was, and it's sort of a be careful what you wish for, employment numbers came out, and the unemployment is lower, the employment is higher, and because of what's been going on with the changes in the tax law, the average wage has gone up. And when you have more people working, making more money, you have a fear of inflation. And those of us who've been around for a while, I mean, I remember, you know, inflation is not fun.
Right, I understand that, but it does raise an obvious question. We want wages to go up. Wages have been too stable and not rising for too many years. So if inevitably we do something about wage stagflation, is that going to result automatically in inflation?
Well, there's a correlation between inflation, interest rates, certainly what the Fed is doing. Now, the Fed has a brand new chairman, effective literally yesterday. But the concern is that as interest rates begin to rise, and in our business, the 10-year Treasury is kind of the benchmark, and it got up to more than 2.8, recently has been 2.4. As rates start to rise, investors will begin to look at the bond market as an alternative because the rates have been so terrible, and now all of a sudden they can take money from the stock market and go to the bond market.
I have lots of questions in the short amount of time.
Sure.
There's been some discussion about, the president certainly enjoyed taking credit for the rising stock market. Does he shoulder any of the blame for this correction, so to speak? Some people have pointed in the fact that you basically fired a perfectly good Fed chairman.
I'm not sure there's a correlation there either, but I think the bottom line is if he's going to take credit on the way up, then I guess he's got to have the credit for what's happened in the last few days. I'm not sure how much credit he gets on the way up, so I'm not sure he has to bear a lot of it on the last couple of days.
Okay, let's put this into perspective, and I believe we have a graphic to illustrate this. You say that a 5% decline in the market is called a pullback, a market decline of 10% is called a correction, and a market decline of 20% is a bear market. Where are we?
Well, we did today, intraday, hit that famous correction, which means you're 10% below the recent highs. Depending on where we go next, we'll have to see, but technically it's a correction. A little bit of it's academia, if you will, because 5%, 10%. Remember, the numbers are so much larger today, and yesterday was a classic example, down almost 1,200 points, which was 4.6%. And my first day on ABC7, we were down 500 points, and that was 22%. Believe me, we would not want to see a decline of 22% right now.
We're out of time, but do you think this is over, or we shall see?
I think we shall see, but I think cooler heads prevail. Corporations are just as strong as they were a week ago, and I think over time people will relax a little bit.
Thank you, Richard. Richard Stern joins us every other Tuesday to discuss the stock market, bonds, and our finances. We'll be back with primetime headlines. Stay with us.
Attention, Americans eligible for Medicare. Are you getting all the benefits you're entitled to? Did you know there may be money available to lower your medical prescription costs? Call Health Markets and we'll tell you if you qualify.
Hi, I'm Dr. Martin Jeetsi. It's a new Medicare year. That means more changes and more confusion. The key question is, what can you do now to ensure you get the care you need in the coming year?
Call Health Markets today. You may qualify to save money on prescriptions. We'll help you find plans that may cost less, cover more, and could even lower your prescription costs to increase your savings. We help you find all the benefits you're entitled to, and we do it at no cost.
Make sure you have what you need to get the care that's right for you.
Find out if you qualify to receive extra help with your prescriptions. Call the number on the screen now. Representatives are standing by.
Every child follows a path in life. For many, that path will lead them to a door that gives them a place to grow, to learn, to belong, a place to forge their future. Because while many doors open, these doors transform. They did for us. Support your local Boys and Girls Clubs. Great futures start here.
Designers do it with style.
Tell me what's going on here, because
Why, you don't like my hair? The Mark and Mandy Show. In-depth design ideas.
What is up with the tuck tape here? Let's cover it up.
Amazing beauty and fashion tips.
So Halle Berry has amazing skin. Her secret is coffee grounds.
No.
Delicious recipes.
Today, I'm gonna show you a special dish that is sure to please that special someone in your life.
Watch the Mark and Mandy Show right here on your favorite channel.
Every year, 40% of all food in the U.S. never gets eaten.
40%. That's almost half the food we produce.
Food waste is a serious problem. It impacts all of us.
And it's expensive. Your family is throwing $1,500 a year in the trash.
We're working hard to put food waste on the chopping block.
And you can do the same at home.
Learn how to cook it, store it, and share it.
Just don't waste it.
Go to savethefood.com.
Checking primetime headlines, will he or won't he? President Trump says he's eager to talk to special counsel Robert Mueller, but some of his advisors are now saying slow down. ABC's Tara Palmieri has the latest on whether the president will sit down with the special prosecutor.
Less than 2 weeks ago, President Trump seemed open to answering questions about the Russia probe.
I would do it under oath. Is that what I would do it? I'm looking forward to it, actually.
But now, sources tell ABC News that his legal team has advised him against it. They fear he could perjure himself and would rather he answer questions in writing. The president did add one condition to his previous offer to testify. His decision was subject to the advice of his lawyers.
If you're his lawyer, you're worried about what Bob Mueller knows and what your own client might say.
On the other hand, Democrats say the president should be transparent.
If he chooses not to, I think the American people are going to ask, what is he hiding?
President Trump has been optimistic about the outcome of the probe into possible collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russian government. He says a recently declassified memo written by GOP staffers vindicates him. The memo claims that the FBI offered politically biased information to the FISA court to obtain a warrant to spy on a Trump campaign aide.
The memo clearly vindicates the president's position that there was political bias in this process.
Trump's former chief strategist Steve Bannon is slated to testify before the House Intel Committee next week. He was supposed to meet with the committee today, but his hearing was delayed because the White House and the committee have yet to agree on the limits to the questioning. The Democrats are waiting on the White House to approve the release of their memo, which they say clears up flaws in the Republican memo and offers context. President Trump has 5 days to decide if he'll make it public. Tara Palmieri, ABC News, Washington.
And the rest has been made in a disturbing sexual assault video that has been spread around the world on Facebook. The man who reportedly made the video turned himself into police at 2:30 this morning. 44-year-old Jermaine Moore is charged with sexual assault of a child, distribution of a video depicting the assault, and first-degree criminal sexual conduct. Investigators say the child in the video has been located and is safe. Moore's wife is charged with interfering with prosecution. Police in Montgomery, Alabama have also arrested one man who they say shared the video on social media. The new rocket Elon Musk hopes will one day send humans to Mars took to the skies today.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The launch of the Falcon Heavy was delayed a couple of hours this afternoon, but it finally lifted off about 3:45 p.m. Not only did the rocket go up, 2 of the boosters landed safely back at Cape Canaveral. Today's launch is just a test flight. If the mission is successful, Falcon Heavy will become the world's most powerful operational rocket. SpaceX hopes to eventually use the Falcon Heavy to send humans back to the moon or Mars. And that's all the time we have for this evening. I'm Alan Cohn. Thanks for joining us. Have a good night.